Today we're going to be talking about why I took the jump from the ROG Ally to the ROG Ally X. Let's talk about it. So I think it'd be easiest just to show a spec comparison. This is actually from the Asus ROG Ally website. And you can see the processor is the same, but in my opinion, one of the biggest jumps that the ROG Ally X has over the original Ally is this 80 watt hour battery. As someone that doesn't really play games that can be played on lower TDP settings, it was really a huge boost for me to be able to make that jump to double my battery life. You know, more often than not, I am playing AAA titles, and my gaming sessions last longer than 45 minutes to an hour. Generally, if I'm going to sit there and have like a full on gaming session, I'm probably in the hour and a half to 2 hours, kind of at the most. I generally will kind of take a break after about 2 hours at the most. But in my opinion, that was like the biggest leap for the Ally X. I think the other one we're going to get to in a minute is the memory, but just wanted to touch on this since that's first on the list, or second on the list, really. The storage, the storage is not really a make or break for me. I would be perfectly content with a 2 terabyte 2230, since that's the maximum size that you can get in an SSD. Generally speaking, I am not playing 10, 20 games at a time. I try to lock myself down to a handful of games, just so that I can, play through them. If there's like a single player game, I play through them, I finish it, kind of uninstall it, don't really play it anymore. So I'm not really wasting space. But the fact that you can upgrade to a 4 terabyte 2280 drive is a pretty significant change. And so that makes it really nice because they are a little bit cheaper. So getting a 2 terabyte 2280 is, maybe 30, 40 bucks cheaper than a 2230 might be. But as far as performance goes, the next upgrade, which is the 24 gigabytes at 75 megatransfers per second, that has been a huge difference. I noticed that immediately. One of the games that I've been playing that kind of made me consider getting the Ally X was Doom Eternal. And I was playing that at even 900p or 720p and just felt like it was stuttering and just not really playing well. I had CPU boost turned on. I tried auto RAM. I tried 4 gigabytes of RAM. And then you can see in the Doom Eternal settings, that I'm set up for about 4 gigabytes of data, or 4 gigabytes of VRAM. And it was just not very playable. I think part of that is Windows takes 50% of my memory just doing nothing. When I looked at Task Manager while I was playing Doom Eternal, I did sort of see that. And so that just kind of like made me start thinking about, hey, maybe I should start considering an upgrade because the games that I'm playing, I'm not really having a great experience with. That being said, though, I did have really good experiences up until that point. I got the original ROG Ally earlier this year, back in January timeframe. And, I played the original Spider-Man. I played God of War. I played Ghost of Tsushima. I played Sackboy and never really had any problems. And it really wasn't until Doom Eternal where I started to notice some issues. Primarily around performance. I couldn't basically play this thing unplugged and maxed out for me to get good performance. But quite literally, I picked up Doom Eternal first thing after installing all of my updates, and immediately I was able to notice a dramatic boost in performance. I went from really inconsistent frame times and for FPS at 900p to now I'm getting 80 plus FPS and a more stable, frame time and FPS at 1080p high settings. Whereas before I was playing at 900p, low settings, just trying to get something stable to play with. because I understand I'm on a handheld. Not every game is going to play great and have the graphic fidelity that I would love. That's why you have desktops and certain laptops, right? Can accommodate that. But it's just something I started to consider. And so you get the same 120 hertz refresh rate monitor or screen rather. I personally have no problem with it. I don't really care about having an OLED. I have an OLED switch, and sure, I mean, maybe it looks a little bit better. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I really just didn't really make a difference for me to have an OLED display. That wouldn't be a reason that I would consider the Steam Deck over the ROG Ally or Ally X. I definitely prefer the better performance and like more consistent frame rate than a higher quality screen. And so one of the things I actually really hate about the original Ally, and it's very similar to the Ally or the Switch, is that I felt like I was, sorry, I'm trying to do this. I felt like I was like really trying to like pinch my fingers, and it was really hard to like play it. And so that's where you can see I did end up getting these ergonomic grips on Amazon for like $15. And I gotta say, it is like substantially better. Like just doing this made me so much happier to play this thing and just actually use it more often than I did before. And so, going over to the Ally X, I do think it is better. It does say with more comfortable grips. I still kind of have moderately large hands. I'm about 6 feet tall, so I don't have tiny hands. But I kind of like to get a firm grip on the device, and I just felt like I still kind of can't. So I did order the JSOX grips and front cover, so that should be coming in within the next day or so. One of the other things that I really hated about the original Ally is, again, playing Doom Eternal. These freaking joysticks freaking suck. Like, I put the dead zone down to 0, and it was like I was getting cooked in boss fights on Doom Eternal. And that was really frustrating, considering I'm already playing it at not the highest difficulty, but the second highest difficulty. And so to make it even more challenging with the hardware, it was really frustrating because I'm coming over from using the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, which has, great texture on the grips. You can take the grip off and dial in your settings. You have a little key that it comes with, and you can like dial in the tightness, which is great on both of these. So both of these come off. They come with like elevated sticks, but I messed around with those. I didn't really like it, so I took them off. But this is what I use if I'm playing like Doom Eternal on my desktop PC. I didn't even notice the D-pad difference, honestly. I didn't really care about that, so this is what it is. Face buttons feel a little firmer, I will say. If you look at this guy, it just feels kind of gummy, which didn't really affect my performance, so I really didn't care. Whereas if you have, it's more similar to what I experienced with my Xbox Elite controller. Even audibly, they sound very similar, which that made me really happy. I really appreciated that. The rear buttons, honestly, I never use. Even my Xbox Series Elite controller or Elite Series controller, I don't even have the extra paddles put in there. Like, that's just not really something that I do. I don't know if that's because, I'm older, and I mean, I'm not even that old. I'm like less than 30. But I just grew up where that wasn't a thing. And so I just never really consider using it. I feel like I have all of the functionality that I need to in all the other buttons. And so it just feels awkward to press. And I don't know. I just don't really ever use it. The other huge thing that made me consider getting the Ally X over the original Ally is the eGPU support for Ally X is substantially better. As you can see, as highlighted by this USB 4 port, you have access to so many different eGPUs. And for those that are not familiar, an eGPU is like an external GPU. So you're not using the built-in GPU inside the ROG Ally or Ally X. You are using a desktop grade graphics card and connecting via USB-C. And so USB 4 is set up for 40 gigabits per second of transmission. And so that should allow you to use like pretty mid-range to high-end graphics cards. I know some people use like 5090s and 4090s and stuff like that. I think realistically, you probably start getting bottlenecked around the 4070-ish or 7900 XT. You know, I feel like you probably get bottlenecked around there. So I can't say that I would suggest anything above that because you'll probably get diminishing returns unless it's something you already have on hand. But that was like a huge reason because I really do think that I could probably use just an eGPU setup with the ROG Ally X and be perfectly happy. What I've noticed recently is, you know, I work from home and I sit at a desk during the day to work. And I feel like when I'm done with work, I don't want to just switch over to my other computer and play games. You know, I don't want to keep sitting at the same desk and, you know, feel like kind of I'm doing the same thing all day for however many hours that I work and then, you know, play games for it at the end of the day. So I've really enjoyed the ability to just pick that thing up, go sit on the couch. You know, maybe my wife is watching some TV, and I can kind of sit there and and play whatever game that I want to, and we kind of just enjoy some time together. Otherwise, you know, I'm in my office effectively. Now she does have a gaming PC. I do have a setup over on the other side of the office for her. We do play games together. So that's where I think the eGPU setup would be really good, because, you know, I can take it out to the living room. I have a dock out there. I can dock it to the TV, use my, you know, Xbox controller, sit on the couch, almost like a console and play it. Or I can come in here, dock it to, you know, my peripherals and play with her as well. So that's just definitely something I would consider. I have not gotten around to testing the speakers, but I'd be curious to do a little bit more analysis on that to see how different it is. Honestly, most of the time I play this while I'm traveling. And so most of the time in that scenario, I am using headphones. The only time that I'm ever using the speakers is if I'm at home on the couch or in bed, or I'm in a hotel room, you know, after work. The cooling is the last thing, or second to last thing. I'm curious. I have not run benchmarks on these guys yet, but I am curious to run some benchmarks. Might include that here at the end of the video, just to kind of get a frame of reference for how well they perform cooling wise. Because I did notice, you know, if I was on a plane and I was plugged in and I was playing and I touched this part and it was super hot, like I like borderline burned myself with the air coming out of this thing. So I really do hope that they kind of fix that. I haven't not played my Ally X long enough to notice that, but it would be really nice if that's something that did get fixed. Now you can get those docks that like blow extra air into it. And maybe that's worth it, maybe it's not. If it doesn't really add any extra performance, it doesn't really help me, because you can't do that when you're playing in handheld mode. Like, I'm not going to have some fans attached to the back of my Ally X while I'm playing it. And then the charging speed. So I do think that the max charging speed being 100 watts is pretty nice. Although I don't really see myself going out there and getting a 100-watt charger, since it didn't come with one. I think for the most part, like, a 65-watt charger is enough for me. I think more often than not, I set it down and I charge it and I play it when it's fully charged. And I don't know, it's just not usually a problem for me that I need to like charge this super fast. Because if I'm on a flight, more often than not, there's some sort of power source. I even did a budget flight recently on Breeze Airlines, which I had never really even heard of. But even then, they had a USB-C 60-watt charger. So I was able to plug in there, play fully charged, max out power, and I didn't lose any battery life. So that was really nice. The only other differences that are worth noting are the difference in weight. Like, the heft of the Ally X definitely makes it feel like more premium. I definitely feel like it makes a difference. Like, I feel like this is like a premium product versus, this. It is a little bit heavier because I have the grips on, but without the grips, I just get that feeling that it's not a Fisher Price toy, but it's not really, the quality that I would look for when spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on it. And so that kind of segues me into the price aspect of things. And so the cost difference, let me pull it up actually. Oh, you know what? It's probably just down here. All right, so I did not pay $650 for my original ROG Ally with 512 gigs of memory. I paid $500 because it was on sale conveniently. Maybe that was because it was right after Christmas. But this is pretty steep to pay for something that feels kind of inadequate, especially with having a successor. I think when this originally came out, it was a much easier decision to make. But now that there are so many handhelds, I think it's kind of hard to justify the price of $650 when it lacks so many features. Like, even the battery, like, if you buy this, then you probably are going to want to upgrade the battery, which there are two different battery mods that I saw. There's a 65-watt one, and then there is a 74-watt one. I had actually bought a lot of stuff to mod, and I was going to make a modding video. But once I got around to acquiring all the stuff to do all the mods, I was like, well, I could probably just sell my original ROG Ally and then pick up one off of like Facebook Marketplace or something. And that would be a lot easier of a bridge to gap and still get all the features that I'm looking for, instead of having to completely mod and like void my warranty and things like that. So the Ally X does cost about $800. I've seen it anywhere from $800 to $900. They might be lowering the cost with the new Ally Xbox coming out, or Xbox Ally, whatever they're calling it. So that might be the case. I would have a hard time spending $800 on something like this. Now, granted, it is basically a laptop. It is got a lot of functionality, but for something that's handheld, I just have kind of a hard time justifying spending that much money on something like that. And so that's kind of why I went the Facebook Marketplace route for the Ally X. And so, quite honestly, I was able to get a really good deal on my Ally X. I saw a bunch listed for 600, and there are a lot. Even if you want a regular Ally, they are. I saw deals on Facebook Marketplace for $200-300. And at that price point, it's very intriguing or enticing to potentially pick up one of these for that price point, especially if you've got, younger children, maybe like early teens or somewhere in the teens, they want a gaming PC, but you don't really want to spend a ton of money. This is something that has console-like features, has PC-like features that you could really consider getting for them, because you could plug this thing up to a 1080p monitor, get a dock, plug in some peripherals, and you basically have a gaming PC. So that's definitely something to consider. But yeah, I ended up seeing a lot for 600 of the ROG Ally X. I offered this guy 500 and he didn't even question me on it. He immediately took it and I picked it up the next day. So I actually ended up selling this this ROG Ally on eBay for about $400 with the case and the grips included, because the grips aren't compatible with the Ally X. So I ended up walking away with about $300 after eBay's fees. I made the mistake of promoting it, and eBay took almost $50 for that, and they took $60 for their general fee, which is like 13%. So instead of paying 11% or 13% of what I thought it was going to be, which would have been like 40-ish bucks, I ended up paying almost $100 in fees to sell this thing. So thankfully, I realistically wanted to walk away with $300 and get this for like a $200 upgrade. So I'm pretty happy with ultimately getting the upgrade for only $200. So overall, I think I'm really happy with the decision I made. I kind of had to make this video pretty quick because, like I said, I did end up selling that, and I'm going out of town on Sunday, so I need to get that packaged up and shipped before I leave on Sunday, or else eBay is going to keep my money and I'm not going to sell this thing. So just wanted to put this video out there and kind of give you an idea. If you are considering getting the Ally, I would strongly encourage you to look into Facebook Marketplace, see if you can get a good deal on an Ally X, because for literally less than the cost of an Ally on Facebook Marketplace, you can get an Ally X if that's something that you're comfortable with. But I definitely do think that the difference in performance is dramatically worth it. The difference in performance, the difference in joysticks, the difference in battery life, the compatibility with the SSDs. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself, and it's kind of hard to conceptualize until you put your hands on it. But the difference in feeling of just the gaming experience, the physical feeling of it, it's dramatically different. And I think Asus did a really good job of taking all of the things that were wrong with the Ally and making them right in the Ally X. So if you stick around for this long, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace.